So let's take an example to understand this. So here we have defined one function with the name myDecor, which is taking a function as its argument. And this function, this decorator function, has defined one wrapper function, which is printing two messages before and after the function call. And by the end, this myDecor function is going to return this wrapper function as a return value. Now, this decorator we have applied on a function that is say hello. So, as we have written here @ followed by the decorator function name, and immediately this definition is written, which means that this decorator function is applied to this say_hello function. Now, when we reach this particular point where actually we are invoking the say_hello function. So when we are calling this function, assuming that this decorator was not there, then of course the control would have gone to this definition and executing hello. Only it is going to print hello. But because this definition is preceded by a decorator, so hence this function call is not going to execute this definition directly. Rather, it is going to execute the decorator function. Now, what the decorator function at the end is doing, it is returning a function. What is the function name is wrapper, which means this decorator function which we have called is taking this say hello as its argument, and finally it is returning a wrapper function, which means this line ultimately executing the wrapper function which is present within the decorator function. So as a result of this, when this line is executing the the wrapper function, so what the wrapper function is doing, it is first of all printing this message. So as a result, what I'm going to get before the function is called. Now when it comes to this second line, this second line is nothing but we are calling the func. But what actually func is? It is the parameter of your myDecor to which this function has been supplied. So this func is ultimately going to behave like your say hello function and it executes. So what the say hello function is printing? It is printing hello. Now soon after this execution is over, we have kept one more message inside this wrapper function which is printing after the function is called. So ultimately this line, though it looks simple function call, but actually it is trying to invoke the wrapper function which is present within the myDecor. So how it is happening? With the help of this @ followed by the decorator name which is written before the function definition. So let's take one more example for more understanding. So here we have again defined one decorator function with the name say some decor, and it is taking some function as an argument. So this also has one function with the name inner, which is taking one argument, and we have written some if else inside this. And as usual, this decor function is also returning some inner, the same function. Okay. Now let us see these two calls here. First time when I'm calling wish followed by some ram. So because this is a normal function call, but we see that the definition of this wish function is preceded with the @ followed by the decorator function, that is nothing but decor, which means this function ultimately invoking which function? Inner function. So now inner function is going to take up this argument as the name. What is that? Ram. And then it checks if name equal to Ravan. But we have supplied Ram. So this condition is failing now. So it comes to the else part, which is going to execute func. What is func actually? So func has already taken this wish function, which means here the wish function is executed by having the argument name, where the name is going to take up Ram. So now the control is going to come here calling the wish function and the name argument value is Ram. So hence we are going to get the message like hello Ram, good morning. So we got this message. Now, when I'm calling for the second time the same function wish with some Ravan, once again the decorator is applied on this. So it is ultimately invoking the inner function by passing the Ravan as an argument. So once this name has been Ravan and inner function get activated, once again we will check this. If name equal to Ravan, yes, it is matching. So hence we will get the message like hello Ravan, bad morning. So same wish function is earlier behaving like hello Ram, good morning, but for the value Ravan, we are getting some other message. So we are able to decorate this wish function according to our requirement by adding some if else condition also. Now, decorator chaining, see, like we have seen in the previous examples, we are applying only one decorator to a particular function. But it is possible that we can define multiple decorators for the same function. So all these decorators that are going to be applied one single function, they usually form a chain, which is nothing but called your decorator chain. So let's see a sample look of how exactly we write the decorator chaining. So assuming here num is a function, so we are trying to apply two decorators here. One is decor1, another one is your decor. So when multiple decorators are applied to a particular function, so the outermost one is called your outer decorator, and thus innermost is nothing but your inner decorator. So we understand that whenever we have a function with a decorator defined, so while we call that function, the decorator will be applied to that function. But here, as we have two decorators, so which one will be applicable to this and what will be the order of the application of the decorator, that is important. So because we are applying two decorator functions here. Now this num function, whenever it is being called for the first time, it is going to apply by this decor function. The inner function will be applied first. So the num function will be invoked by taking the help of this inner decorator. So this inner decorator, when applied on this num function, might be giving certain modified result. That result will be taken up by the outer decor and on which it is going to be called. So first the num function is invoked along with this inner decorator, and later on the outer decorator, that is nothing but here decor1, will be invoked by taking the result what we have got after the inner decorator is applied. So you can write any number of decorators, but the innermost will be applied first, and after applying the innermost, whatever result is received, that will be the input for the next outer decor. Similarly, the same result will be passed on to the next outer decor. Like that, we can have any number of decorators defined. So in this context, we can say we are trying to form a chain, because this decorator invoke next this decorator. If at all we have some more decorator here, then that also been executed. So in a series of or a chain of decorators are executed for a single function. That's what we call your decorator chaining. So let's understand with an example. Say we have defined one decorator here with the name decor1, taking the function as an argument. So here we have defined one function, say inner, where we are just trying to return, this function is returning x into x. Okay. Now finally, of course, because a decorator, it has to return a function, that is nothing but this inner function. Similarly, we have defined one more decorator here with the name decor. The same function is being applied. Here also we have another inner function that also returning some 2 into x. So here we are finding x into x and we are finding 2 into x here. Okay. Now here we are defining this function, that is num function, and what this num function is doing actually is returning 10. Okay. Now because above this definition we can find there are two decorators maintained here. So this is your inner decorator and this is your outer decorator. So as we understand, when multiple decorators are applied on a particular function, so the order is going to be the innermost decorator first and then the outermost, which means now when I'm going to call this num function, so here you can see we are calling the num function. So when the num function is being called, it actually going to call the inner function. But which inner function is going to call, that depends on what is the innermost decorator we have. So because the innermost decorator is your decor, so the first control is going to go to this. So this inner function will be invoked. So what this inner function is doing, it is taking like x equal to func. So what is func actually? Going to replace the num function. What num function is returning? 10. So the x value is 10. And then it is returning 2 into x. So 2 into 10 is nothing but 20. So by the end of this decor function, we are going to get 20 as the value of x, because we applied the innermost decor. Now this is the result on which now the outer decor, that is decor 1, will be applied, which means now the control goes to the decor 1, and now the function is going to take up this value, the result what we have got at the end of this first decorator. So now when this inner function is being called, because earlier this inner function was called because this was the innermost one, because we have called this decor. Now because the outer decorator is getting executed, so till now whatever the updated value we had, that is being passed here. So as a result, this function is going to return this updated value, which is the end result of decor function or the for decor decorator. So now x is going to take up 20. So then what does it return? 20 into 20, that is nothing but your 400. So by the end of this function call, it is going to return this result, which is nothing but your 400. Now the same program, we have just revised this order of the decorator. So now the inner decorator is your decor 1 and the outer decorator is your decor. So because the inner decorator is now decor 1, so hence the first decorator that will be applicable on this num is decor 1. So what decor 1 has done, I mean whatever inner function is doing, that is the job of the decorator. So decor 1, while executing inner, because the value is 10 to start with, so x is 10, so 10 into 10, so this is going to be a 100. So by the end of first decorator, that is decor 1, while applied on the function, the end result is your 100. And this result will be considered while applying the second decorator on the function, which is nothing but your decor. So when we reach this decor function with the input value, that is your 100, so this x is now going to take this updated result, that is nothing but 100. And what does it return? 2 into x, that is nothing but your 2 into 10, I mean 2 into 100, 200. That is what the result we will be getting. So it all depends on what is the order in which you have defined the decorator here. And there is no limit on how many decorators you can attach for a particular function. But the execution will be from innermost to the outermost. And every time a decorator is applied, it gives you a particular result. That result will become the input for the next outer decor. And this process will follow until we reach the outermost decorator.